Hey everybody. So today, something a little different, as I seem to say quite often here. Um, I have a PlayStation 5 controller, the DualSense controller for a PlayStation 5. And I've worked on a lot of game stations lately, a lot of HDMI ports, and some controllers. Now, controllers almost always, these analog sticks go bad. The technology that's in these, usually they have the carbon resistive pad and then some metal wipers that are wiping back and forth on them, and they just wear out. So a new technology, well, not even really new, just a new packaging of technology, you can replace them with these sticks here. And these have something called a Hall effect sensor in them. Instead of contacts on a carbon trace, these have just a magnet and then a sensor that senses the angle that the magnet's at. So there's no contact to anything. There's just better wear, better characteristics all around, or at least should be. But they say that it's an absolute permanent fix to stick drift. So stick drift is when the carbon element starts wearing out, and then when you leave it in center, the controller doesn't think it's in center, and your character on the screen is just turning in one direction the entire time. So this eliminates that for the most part. So I haven't seen any that have been installed long enough, but I have my original PlayStation 3 controller. I played a lot of PlayStation 3 back in the day when I had one. I didn't get stick drift for the carbon traces going bad. I got stick drift because the center point, the spring in here went bad, and it wouldn't even stay in the center anymore. So I believe that these are still going to be susceptible to that. So when you say permanent fix for stick drift, it's permanent for the one way that stick drift happens. But if this stick in here stops going to the very center, if it doesn't want to center itself anymore because the spring has worn out, or a little pogo pin at the bottom has worn out or something, then you're still going to wind up getting stick drift. But it's better than, it's going to take a lot longer to do that than to wear out these carbon traces in here. So let's first start, we'll take a look at this, this controller and see why they want it changed. So this is a standard Sony DualSense controller. So I'm going to connect it to my computer here. Oop, missed. And we'll load up a website to show. Hello. Thank you. So here I have a hardware tester for the gamepad, and you see right away, I'm not touching it, but the stick on the graphic is kind of lighting up, and you see the circle here. I think is my cursor captured? Yeah. You see this circle here. This one, the right stick is just wacky. It's not staying, it's going really wacky there. Wow. You're full tilt turning one way. So this is what happens to your controllers after time. The left one, still okay. It's weird how the left one affects the right one. I don't know why exactly that happens. Maybe they share a voltage or something. But I'm not touching the right one at all. You see the right one is just stuck. So let's get these sticks out of here and change them out for some Hall effects. So first thing first, we'll take this apart. We start by opening up this little panel here. Little trim panel comes off pretty easily. And we have two screws under here. So I made this this foam piece, just cut out some cradles for the sticks so that when you're working on this, because we're going to be working in here a lot, now we have some place to place it without pushing the sticks in one direction. So we'll take out the two screws in the bottom here. So over here for the live stream, This will wind up being an edit video too, but if you're here for the live stream, this is just down and dirty exactly what it takes to change these. Okay, now we have to take out these two buttons. So we'll get in here with a plastic spudger, just pull the button out. Now we have two more screws in here. They're all the same screws, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up. Now we just pull open the whole case. Whenever possible, I don't like using tools. I'd rather use my fingernails for most things, if possible. There's some snaps to pull off over here. And the back comes right off. Barely counts as right off, but it came off. Okay, next thing we're going to do is pull the battery out. Just pull the battery and we'll disconnect it. Now we have a bunch of little ribbon cables to disconnect here. So we're going to get at the board here. The board's eventually going to come out. So let's disconnect some of these ribbon cables around. Good evening, Greg. So I think only one of them has a lock on it. Let's actually take this screw out here. Again, same screw as the other one, so you don't have to worry about mixing that up. We'll pull the microphone out right here. None of these have locks. Yeah, none of these ribbon cables have any locks you gotta flip open. So all you do is just pull them straight out. That one's gonna be a little difficult. I might need something a little more than tweezers. Okay, that's everything there. So now the next part is the rumble motors have to be unsoldered. So if you haven't done this before, this is the time you take a picture of where these have to be soldered back. Everything else you can't mess up. You know where this is going back, you know where that's going back, you know where that's going back, you know where this has to connect back. Can't mess any of that up. But now we got to a point where we might mess something up. I don't really know if polarity matters on this, but I'm not going to take any chance for that. Take a picture of this so you know which wire goes where. So red is towards me, black is up to the top. And then we'll just unsolder them. Now the board should come free. We might have to take the sticks off. Now the sticks come through. Now we have our logic board to work on. So now we do need to take the sticks off. We don't want to melt these as we're working on anything. This is the originals. Actually, this can come off too. Yeah, we don't want to lose that speaker. So that can stay in the case. Okay, so now we start by desoldering some of these. I'm going to put everything in the Omnivice here. Now we have a nice sturdy base to work on. And like the video, the only video that I can find that fully describes how to do all of this, I also have one of the desoldering pumps that he was using, something like. So that will help get some of these off. So we're going to start some fume extraction. I got to get a little bit of flux on there. Yes, hi, the device of gravity. This thing, this little thing is very deceiving. I actually, you know what? I've never done this. So this Omnivice is kind of expensive, but it is really, really worth it. I tell you, it's really worth it. It's better than any kind of little free hands thing or something like that. So the device of infinite gravity. This thing's tiny. It's just a tiny little thing. It has a rubber-plated big washer that you squeeze your board into. It works really well. But let's see. This thing weighs almost 3 pounds. This little thing weighs almost 3 pounds. 2 pounds, 12 ounces. So when you put a circuit board into this thing, it's not going anywhere. Just make sure you're aware of all of your chips and connections, that you're not squishing anything you don't want to get squished. And then we will start unsoldering. We'll add a little bit of flux. So all of the connections, you see that this is the new one here. That's the way it sits in here. So all these connections, these three, that's a ground, these 4 for the button, these 2 over here, everything that you see here, it all needs to be unsoldered. Some of them won't unsolder as easily as others. The ground points on this, they're kind of actually tough to unsolder. But with a mix of the desoldering pump and some wick, we will get through it. So, some fume extraction, and we will start desoldering. Now, the ground points are really difficult to desolder. You could also try just preheating it a little bit with hot air. You could also add some leaded solder to it. And these ground points, the ground cage around this is very large, so it's just wicking away all the heat that this thing can pump into it. Let's try adding some leaded solder to some of the things that's not clearing out too well. Alright, everything has some leaded solder on it, and we'll just go back at it again. It's still not coming clean well. I'm going to preheat the board some. So just my hot air is always on full and full. There's 95% air and 450 degrees C. I'm just going to stay away from that white connector there. Just preheat the whole board. I don't really want to solder anything. I don't want to get up to solder melting temperature. I just want the whole board to be warm. Yeah, that should help us out some. It looks like I don't have the right size tip for the ground points. The desoldering pump is clogged. Jeez, it's really clogged up. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. That sounds better. Meanwhile, my board is cooled down. Yeah, the board has cooled down a lot. Okay. Second option. Or you're just going to use wick. So unfortunately, the larger wick that I have is fake goot wick. So it doesn't have really good flux built into it. I have to add flux to the board for this to work at all. I don't know how I wound up with some fake goot wick, but it sucks if you don't get real goot wick. This 830 Fahrenheit soldering iron and wick is barely getting the ground stakes unsoldered. Oh good, that's the last little bit of my terrible wick. Now it gives me an excuse to get new. So I really wanted to stream this. I have two of these controllers here. I already did one of them, and I really wanted to stream this because this is not a home game thing. This is not something that many people can do at home at all. So I wanted to stream this just to show what it actually takes to do these. Because it seems like all of the little tutorials and guides and stuff that I found on YouTube, they all just, it's nobody's telling you the trials of it. They're just showing you what they did, and they're not telling you that, like, look, this was difficult. I'm a very experienced technician with thousands of dollars of equipment on my bench, and this is still difficult. Okay, the only thing that's not coming out is the ground stakes. So we're just going to heat this out with some hot air now. So get in a position where I can grab it with some tweezers from underneath. Yeah, you know, for anybody that does this for people, if you want to lead them to this live stream and tell them, look, it costs this much because it takes forever, you know, if you don't believe me, go ahead and take a look at this live stream. This is a master technician at work trying to get these done. Because this is not easy. I charge a bit of money for this, and for heavy gamers it's worth it. Although mostly this is the first time somebody ever brought me the Hall Effect mod. Most of the time I just change for the original sticks, which I have a lot of. So now we're going to clear out those holes. I guess I could use some wick. Trim this wick. Okay, we have a couple ground ones that don't want to come clean. So let's get a little bit of hot air in there. And I'm just going to use the solder sucker on them. Get some more room here. Regular desoldering pump will get it hot. I want to direct my hot air away from that white connector. You don't want to melt that white connector. Or the black connector over there. Okay, that looks good. Yep. Everything's pretty nice and clear. There's one that has a little bit in there, but I think that's going to be okay. Now we'll do a little bit of cleaning. I'm not going to try to ultrasonic clean this when I'm done, so I like to clean as I go. I don't know what of anything on here that is going to be sensitive to an ultrasonic cleaner, so I'm not going to use it on this. So we're just going to constantly be cleaning to make sure it's clean at the end. Okay, that looks good enough for now. 1 Q-tip worth of cleaning. Now we'll take our new one, hold it in the right orientation, and I can see it through. Also, if we look at this, you'll see that some of the connections are insulated. So Hall effect sensors have different voltage requirements than the resistors, the wiper resistors. So we need to add a whole new control board on top of this that's going to control this and translate it into the signals that the controller is used to seeing. That hole might not be free enough over there. I think I have just a little bit too much flux in that one hole. Pretty clean. Yeah, there's flux in there. Let's just see if I could widen that. That looks good. Now I bent this thing all over. Now I just lost it. If I need to, I could just trim it. We need to trim it in the middle of it anyway. Yeah, I'm going to have to trim that. Either that, or let me see if I can get anything more out of that hole. This one right here is being a pain in the ass. I'll heat it up a little bit. Yeah, any flux that was in there melted away, it looks like. And we will trim this as well. There we go. There we go. It is installed and in place, and with so many pins, it really holds well there. So the first ones we have to solder. Let's take a look. This little hat board that's going on here. The hat's going to go on like this. No, the hat's going to go on like this. So we can't get to that one, we can't get to that one, we can't get to that one easily. So we're going to solder 1, 2, 3 in a row first. So 1, 2, 3. We'll solder them down. The ground pins, give them lots of heat, give them a good amount of time, make sure that they go all the way down through. So check the other side, make sure the solder came through to the other side. See that pin is fully soldered. With something like this, you have to worry about longevity. People rough the hell out of controllers. You need to make sure you do this fully and properly. Okay, that's 3. We also have to free this board from its little extra piece here. So, snip there. Snip. Can I snip? Yeah, it looks like that'll work. Good. And then we'll just snap it in the corner. Be really careful when you do that. Now there's our board. Doesn't really want to go all the way down because of these solder points here. It's not made exactly perfect. But this side of the board we don't have to really worry about because this is the side that we're connecting everything to. So I'll start with the ground points, what's going to hold this down. So this is the one that's all the way down. So we'll start over here. I'll hold the board down. It's not ideal, but that's what you get with any of these mods. So on this, I'm going to do most of my contact to the ground stake. I want to turn the ground stake into an extension of my soldering iron. Hopefully that heated all the way down through there. If not, we can always preheat the board a little bit to make sure it gets all the way through. Check the other side. Yep, we got all the way through. Now we can go for the other ones that are not part of the mod, really. We have this ground that's exposed. Just solder that. And these two for the button, the stick button. Alright, now comes the annoying, confusing, weird part. So my customer submitted me a video to follow. I would much rather have just pictures of steps. Everybody's going towards videos for instruction on something like this. I don't think that's ideal, because now I have to watch a little bit, then pause. I have to listen to this explanation and everything. Just give me pictures. Give me a couple pictures and I can just follow through with them. So what we're going to do first, I'm going to bend this away a little bit. We're going to bend this one away a little bit. Now, all of these are getting soldered to the pads here. 1, 2, 3 to the board. 1, 2, 3 to the board. Then this is getting soldered to here. This is getting soldered to here. And then we have to do some other jumpers around the place too. Because this board is configurable for PS5, PS4, and I think one of the Xbox controllers use this. One of the Xbox sides, like the right stick, or I think the right stick uses this same board. So it's configurable. All these pads need to be set like DIB switches to configure it. So now I'll take a micro pencil, and we'll come in here and solder these. As you can see, the placement's not ideal. I probably could have done better if I paid attention to it, but we'll get it working. First I'll solder the board. And just keep adding solder until the whole thing fills in. There you go. Now this one, we don't want to connect the pin, we just want to connect the board to the board. That's kind of difficult. There you go. The board is connected to the board, and I will double check on that with my multimeter. My multimeter is in beep. You should be able to hear the beep. And we will put one there, and no beep. Beep, no beep. Okay, so we did not cross anything. Whatever little silicone tubes comes with this, it's pretty good stuff. Now we'll head over to these. This one I have a bit of a gap. I'm kind of worried about it there, that big gap in there. If I need to, I can just put a little piece of jumper wire in there and it'll help fill in all of that space. But nope, it does not look like I need it. That's a nice, good connection. This one I bent a little far, so I'm going to bend this a little back. And then we'll also trim this while we're here. Okay, the next part is we need to jump this to this big square pad right here. The square pad. Which connection does it connect to? That's right, the square pad. If anybody knows that video, I just gave you a chuckle. We also have this rectangle pad, but that's right, the square pad. Design a custom PCB with the Hall effect sensor on it. Yeah, you know, I think that there's a Hall effect sensor. See, I don't really do these Hall effect sensor switches. This is the first time that I'm doing one of these. But I think that there's a Hall effect mod where the Hall effect sensors are the proper ones for a PlayStation, and you don't need this extra control board. But I'm not exactly certain. They might all need the control board. I don't know. Something's tugging on my soldering iron. I just ripped it out of my hand. Okay, we're going to tin this a little bit. I'm going to tin that a little bit. I'm going to take what I have here is 34 gauge magnet wire. A lot of people just suggest, oh, just use anything. Just grab some motor wire. Just, you know, tear something apart and get some of this. You have to size this for what you're working with and the situation and stuff like that. Like, I usually use 40 gauge or 44 gauge. There is a stress fracture right there. I'm not going to use this piece of wire. I don't know if anybody saw that. There's a stress fracture in my wire. It gets thin right there, and it's ready to break. So I will break it off right there. And we will start from there. That's right, the square hole. I need a little bit of flux for this. Okay. Just drape it down right into here and solder it right there. And I will wiggle it to cut it off. That's probably how I got that stress fracture in there to begin with. And a little dot of flux. And we'll clean up that pad a little bit. There you go, that's one. Now the other one. Can you guess which pad we're soldering to? That's right, the square pad. Okay, so that is a terrible connection. Everything that I did there was a terrible connection. I just did that just to hold it, and that the way that solder looks, the way it's connected, everything is just awful. But we add a little bit of flux, and we reflow that, and now that's fully connected. And when you cut a wire too, you always want to add a little bit of solder to the end of it. You don't want free copper to the end. Because just regular copper corrodes pretty easily. You can get corrosion actually work its way through the inside of the wire. Okay, so that's all the normal soldering connections. So now we have to go to the jumpers. So this is the configurable jumpers. This is how we have to configure it. I have here an image. Microscope. And that is what we were looking at. So again, I'm going to use my 34 gauge magnet wire. I'm going to bridge this. Do that. I'll get some flux. And a little bit of solder on my iron tip here. that's our first bridge. Wiggle that off and seal the end. Now if we go back, we'll scrape on the wire, we'll get rid of the coating, and it'll solder right on. Wiggle, wiggle. Dab of flux. Clean that right up. Alright, and one more. Switch back over the microscope. So there's what we were looking at. We got the ground pin sitting in there. We got a round and the square one. So we'll just bridge that right there. Let's get a little bit of flux over here. You see how that connection looks so gravelly and nasty, and you can see the little bit of copper that I left sitting out there. Just a little tiny bit of flux, a little tiny bit of heat. Nice clean connection now. Oh, no sound when I'm in there. I'm sorry. Forgot to add the sound to that scene. So there's no microphone on the picture capture scene. Well, if I do an edited version, I will have to re-record that then. So there you go. That completes this side. And now, the guide that I saw said that, yeah, it looks kind of messy, there's a lot of flux, but I'm not going to clean that because the connections are fragile. This is a game station controller. If your connections are so fragile that you can't rub a Q-tip over them, then you need to redo your connections. People throw PlayStation controllers constantly. You can't have connections that are so weak and so fragile that a little bit of Q-tip rubbing or a little bit of brushing is going to break them. If that's the case, you need to do something better with your soldering. And if you do rub on it with a Q-tip and it breaks, it should have never been there to begin with. Redo it. That goes true for just about everything. The only thing that I wouldn't do that with is when I do like the dead bugs. I think I have a couple videos on my YouTube channel of doing the dead bugs. but they're going to be sealed in hot glue or epoxy or something. So yeah, I would expect you to not Q-tip or brush a dead bug. But then you could ultrasonic those usually. You have to clean them before you try to epoxy them. So I'm not going to go too crazy with cleaning it, but if that was 1 Q-tip worth, let's 2 Q-tips worth. I want to get these stubborn chunks out of here. That's better. Okay, so that's side 1 done. Now on to side 2. This is another thing that that gets me too. So you have the rumble pack connections here. Let's sweep them clean. These are going to be underneath this board. So let's see the board. So especially one of them. That one you can still get to and solder to. This one's going to be underneath the board. But let's take a look at this. Everybody puts a little piece of wire on this. They even give you a little piece of wire in the kit to extend this out. So solder a little piece of wire, and then you have the solder connection here. And some people do it to that one too. That's more than enough to solder those little wires to. This is not. But look at the size of that pad. That pad is humongous. That trace underneath there is humongous. There's no reason to solder a wire and have the board teetering on a wire. We just make a new pad. Just extend this pad out a little bit. I'm going to extend it all the way to where it would look like a normal pad right before the pinch in. Now you see, when we put this board back down here, you have more than enough pad on both of them to solder to. There's no reason to solder a little wire and then have to worry about the wire moving while you solder onto the end of it. You just make the pad a little bit bigger. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to desoldering. Let's see if our desoldering pump works any better over here. I want to get a soldering iron temperature probe, and I want to see if this is actually, because I have this set at 500 degrees C. I don't think it's getting to 500 degrees C. This is the ground one. It does not want to work on the ground ones. I just don't know if this is actually 500C. That one came nice and clean. Now let's go back to our alternative methods. Start with preheating. There is something on the underside of that board that may connect to those the rumble pad connections, but it must not be connected to anything because they're telling you to put a piece of wire right there and make it a big bump that it's definitely going to connect to. That's the end of my 3515 Gootwick 3.5 millimeter. Okay, we're just going to hot air this the rest of the way out. Too many of these are filled on this side. This is the real Gootwick. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Jeez. One's not emptying. I think that one just came empty. Alright. Alright, cleared. It's still not clear. It's still not clear. That one just cleared out. Alright, this one's being a real pain. There we go. Nice and empty. Make sure we didn't throw any blobs off to the bottom here. Yeah, looks okay. Okay, a little bit of cleaning. So how is everybody on a Monday evening? Actually, I guess it's Monday night by now. All right, well, this one's ready. Maybe not. Yeah, both of those holes seem kind of closed up. The ones that need the silicone tube to go through are a bit closed up, so I'm going to add some leaded solder to them and then wick that out. So adding leaded solder to something will lower the melting temperature. So if there is lead-free solder in there, the leaded will lower the melting temperature and it'll wick out a lot easier. There you go. And there we go. That's in. Let's get the other board ready. Remind us of which holes to solder first. Snippy snip. And a little snappy snap. Goes like that. I'm going to try this a little different this time. I want it to stay flat on the board, And since these are so lopsided, I know my fillet of solder is going to get in its way, so I'm going to solder it after the fact. Let's solder this down first. Actually, I wonder if I can... That's a nice big hole on there, so if I don't put a big fillet on this, then I can put it back down on there. Or I'm just going to remelt it anyway, so let's do that. Let's solder this first. So as I said, this is only the second one I've done of this, and I haven't seen a good procedure, like procedural like this, done by a actual soldering person, so... Yeah, I like that a lot better. Now I can align it. Let's get a bunch of more solder in there. Okay, now let's align it. Feet there, that looks good. Kind of difficult because you're aligning two different directions at once. But that looks good. Maybe out a little bit that way. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to solder this one. And we'll fill in this one a little bit more now that it's immobilized. There you go. Now these, you were told to solder before by other people because you can't really get to them. But we're just going to use my method. We're going to contact the center point, get a little bit of solder to get good heat conduction, and we're basically going to turn that center point into our soldering iron. We'll get down in there. Alright, so let's see if we did a good job soldering that. It made it all the way to the other side. The entire via is filled with solder. These should be easy. I could actually, I'll do these with the micro tip so I could get in there more. These are just to the button switch. So this should solder really easy. I need a little bit of flux in there. I guess it made it a little bit more challenging. That flux made it happen immediately, though. But yeah, now the board is completely flat up against the daughter board is completely flat up against the main board. I like that better. I like that method a lot better. You need to make sure every one of your connections is perfect on these things, just because this is going to be experiencing a lot of vibrations. Okay, again, let's bend away the center pin a little bit. go. We'll do it over here too. Give some room. I'll take our micro pencil for these. While I'm here, I'll tin the square pad. So first I'm soldering it as if the board isn't even here. Solder the pin to the through hole, to the via, and then we'll just pop up over here, add a little bit more solder, and it will all connect itself. So that. While we're here, since we know we have to do it, I might as well just run that wire right now. Hey. And so you can do that. Alright. Might as well run that wire too. Before we change over to a whole other side, just finish up with this. A little snippy snip. That is not a good enough joint yet. There's nowhere near enough solder on that. That just looked ridiculous. Flex. Nice and clean. Okay, now we can move to the next side. probably trim that a little more. Yeah, it's working. I have another stress fracture right here, so we'll just break that off right there. You always have to look for that in the area that you're using it. You don't have to worry about it if you actually cut it. So if I just come in here with a razor blade, and just give it a little snap right there, now I don't have to worry about looking for a stress fracture in that, because there's not going to be one. There we go. We have 2 more jumpers. Yeah, we have this jumper here. All of this looks terrible right now because I don't have any flux on anything. Nothing's sticking, everything's just running all over the place. So now we'll get some flux on things. Just touch everything up again. There we go. One last jumper. We have to configure this. I actually think this is not ground, like I said before. This is the button. So this is for it to sense the button. I don't know if it passes anything on or if the button is just for calibration. That is not well soldered yet. Let's do a little scrape on that. All right, that side is done. Now we'll do some Q-tipping. I'm running low on Q-tips on my bench. I will say it again and again and again. If your soldering job can't survive you running a Q-tip over it, you need to redo it. And I'm not being gentle. I'm not being dumb either. I'm not going stabbing right at the wire that's floating there. Always clean your work. Flux stays sticky for a long time. Stickiness attracts dust. Dust attracts moisture. Moisture makes corrosion. So even if it is a no clean flux, if that cycle of events happens where it's somewhere where it's going to attract dust, and the dust is going to hold moisture, and then it's just going to cause corrosion. Now underneath the chip, like underneath this, I don't have to worry about ultrasonicking this and getting all the flux out from underneath this, because I'm sure all underneath this daughter board is full of flux. It's not going to corrode. The flux is non-corrosive. That's why it's no clean flux. You don't have to clean it. But if I have it on the top here where just dust is going to pile up on it, and believe it or not, a lot of dust gets into controllers. I don't know how. There's no fan in it. It's not circulating air, but these things do get full of fine dust. And if it piles up on one thing, it's just going to eventually corrode it. Somebody should compile all of these little tidbits of wisdom. Like the pad extension. No reason to put a wire under there. There's the pad right there. Same with this one. If this one was hidden a little bit more, look at all that extra pad that you can make. You just scrape off the conformal coating and you got a whole new pad. So there you go. That's two of them. I'm much prouder of this one than I am of that one, just because of these solder points holding the board up. I don't care for that. This one's flat up against the board and beautiful. So that's the way I will be doing them from now on. I will be soldering these points after this is down on the board. You be sure of that. Okay, now to reassemble. Now to get the ridiculously hot desoldering iron off my bench and back in its holder so I don't accidentally burn myself or melt something. Okay. They're looking good. Move the device of gravity. I don't need this. I don't need that. I don't need this. Just clean up the bench some. I don't need that. I will need them, probably. Don't need that. Don't need them. Okay. Don't need them. Next, we bring back our controller holder. Okay, I wanted to see which way that was. Okay, yeah. Because I just dropped this back in here, the little speaker, and I wanted to make sure that the pad was actually landing in the right spot, and I'm holding it backwards, so it is not. So let me pull that out, pull that speaker out, and turn it around, and put it back. So that's the way it was in there. That rubber pad was up against this side. Okay. Put these back on. I did not mark which one was left and which one was right. I hope my customer does not mind if they are reversed. Sorry if you are watching and I reversed them on you, because this is a pain to get to this point to change them. Actually, yeah, come to think of it, if you're getting this done, you should buy new thumbstick covers too. Like, you might as well buy some nice covers that you like too, something that's well rated, something that's going to last for a while. Because now is the time to do it. Okay, and now I could work on this, you see, without the bench pushing up on this and things popping out and everything. So now it's going to stay, I can work on it, and nothing moves on me. So this is just some foam that comes in batteries, and I cut some holes out of it. And solder the rumble packs back. Oh, another thing. Again, here in the microscope. Come close. Come real close. Not that close. So when you solder these back, you have components that you're jumping over right here that are all near it. You have this right here. When you solder this back down, make sure that it's not sticking up like that and contacting something else. The video, the instructional video that I saw on how to do this, on this side here, he had the end of this wire like fractions of a millimeter away from touching this. And now that I see this in the microscope, this is terrible. This needs flux. Much better. And this needs some solder. I took off all the solder on these pads and never put any back. So right where this is pointed, make sure it's not pointed up towards here. When the insulation that's going over here, make sure it didn't melt and you're now connected to one of these resistors or something. Just double check all of that. It's easy when you have a microscope. It's the biggest thing to have. Like you can get away with a cheap soldering iron for a really long time. You can get away with a cheap hot air station, but you need a good microscope. Okay, we're done soldering, so I can turn off the fume extractor. And we just connect things. Get my wider tweezers. Tweezers can always be made wider, but you can never get them to go back closed after they're wide. So I have different levels of tweezers sitting here for depending on which components I'm working with. If I'm working with something really small that's very delicate, I'll use the tweezers that are the most close together. The ones that I use most of the time are the medium ones. The larger ones are for like CD3215s or SMCs, and then the big ones are for like PMICs or T2 or something like that on MacBooks. Because you could always make them a little bit wider, but you can never get them back small afterwards. Okay. this should be the last, the connectors and everything. There we go. Now we'll put that one screw back in here. All right, take a look at the front, make sure everything looks okay, feels okay. Yep, that looks right. Everything feels right. Now we connect the battery. And your first test, when you connect the battery, is that we look at each board here, and when we press the reset button, we should see the light up. I'll get that on the microscope. There's a light on each one of these boards. There it is right there. And now when I push this reset button, it should flash. Yep, that means it's at least passably good. Something's soldered right. Yep, good. So that's our first test to make sure we got everything right. Now we can finish putting the cover back on. I'm at that point, right? Yep. Everything's connected, everything's ran good, okay. I don't claim to be an expert at assembling, disassembling PlayStation controllers. I'm just an expert at soldering. Okay. That's snapped in together. Now we put our two screws up front here. Now we can put the front buttons back. Facing the right way? Yes. Now we can put our little trim panel on. Nope, I'm sorry. I didn't put these screws in. All right. So there you go. They're changed. But did you think we were done? Oh no, we're not done. You still have, I don't know, another 5, 10, if you've never done it before, maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of work to do on this. So get into it. First, before that one scene, I did not have audio. Let me add audio to this other scene that I created. I forgot all about audio. Oh no, wait, that should already have audio. Let's see here. Do I have audio? Yeah, I have audio. Okay, cool. So, this is the next part. So we saw what this looked like before. So now we saw that the stick drift, everything was freaking out. So if we hit the test circularity first, this is going to leave trails on the circles here and let us see exactly where everything is. You can see we don't have much of a circle, we're very square, and we're not reaching the edges. So if you're trying to turn right with your character in a game, you're not going to move to the fullest unless that black dot hits the end of that circle. Same with this here. So now we have to calibrate them. So amazingly, these center points are smack on. Maybe we could play around with the center point a little bit. So for the center point, that's the first thing you would work on. The center points look really good, but we'll work on them anyway. You work with one stick at a time. For center point, I believe it was you just hold it off to the side. Don't push down on it, just hold it off to one side. Plug it back in. And when we come back up, this is not going to work, but I can move my center point. You see that I'm not moving anywhere, but my center point is moving ever so slightly. So we're just going to get it as close to 0, 0, and when it's not jittering around or anything. So that looks good. This is still not in because we're not in calibration for this one. So now we push the button, the center button here, and we save that calibration. Now we'll unhook it again. Now we'll calibrate the center point of this one. So just hold it off to the side as we plug it in. Now we can move this center point. That seems pretty good. This one, center point is good, but yeah, of course it's not a good circle. So save that. Now we'll do the circularity. So we'll start with this side. I'm going to just push down. Don't move it to the side or anything, just straight down. Push and connect. And now it doesn't respond on the screen, but it's memorizing. So we'll just go in a circle 1 or 2 times, push the button. Now when we come back, we should have a better circle on the screen than before. It's a little bit egg-shaped, but it's better. You can keep doing that, but it's better. But we're not reaching the ends anymore. But that's the next step. So we'll do the circle of this one next, too. So I'm going to push down, connect. One, two, there. Push, disconnect. Now let's take a look at our circle there. That's better. A little bit egg-shaped, but that's much better. Still a little bit egg-shaped, but let's work on getting to the edge first, and then we'll work on seeing if we want to do the circularity again. So now the edges, you have to do all 4 directions, left, right, up, down for this. And the way we do that is we push down and go to the direction that we want to calibrate. So I'm pushing on the stick so it's clicked, and I'm going to the right for the first one I'm going to do is the right. We connect it like that, and it brings up like that. And then we use some direction. I haven't really figured out which direction. It's always a different direction for plus and minus. But then we're just going to plus it out until we reach the end of that circle. So that's the end of the circle, and then we want to go a couple more too. Just from experience, you want to go a couple more. So 1, 2, 3, we'll give it 4 more. And then push to save. And then we'll just go right into the up. I'm just going to go around counterclockwise. Okay, that's full. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save. Go left. One, two, three, 4. Save. And we'll go down. One, two, three, 4. Save. Now let's take a look. I'm not going to go into any configurations. There's still a little light in this corner. We probably can fix that with a little bit of circularity again. We're a little heavy to the bottom. That's fine. That's as good as a new controller, really. This right here should be a little bit farther out. So we can either go a little bit farther out on this side and this side, and maybe it'll get it out there, or we could try doing the circularity again. So we went from this, that's what we had, so we now have this. So now let's do that to this one. All the way out to 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter. Okay, up. Okay, at 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Save. Left. And 1, 2, 3, 4, save, and down. So this also raises the question to me that if you are accidentally pushing one of these sticks in a direction or pushing down on the stick or something when you turn this on at any time during its life, you're just going to enter the configuration. You're just going to enter this calibration mode, and you're going to wind up ruining your calibration. Like, that doesn't seem very good to me. I wish it had maybe another button or something. I don't know. I don't know how you can do this with the thing open, so you could push a button on the board or something. It just doesn't seem. It doesn't seem safe to me. I think that somebody's going to wind up turning on the controller while holding a stick to the left and not realizing it, and then they're just going to ruin their configuration of the thing. What was I up to? Okay, there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save. Uh, 3.3% seems pretty nice to me. .1 seems okay too. That just went up using it more. Seems okay. And these will never wear out in the same way that anybody that's been here from the beginning, or if you rewind to the beginning, I talk about how, so this is supposed to be a permanent fix for stick drift. So you have the little resistor wipers here. I think this is, yeah, if this is the first one, we should see some damage on this. We should actually be able to see the damage because this was pretty bad. Let's see, let me see if I can get this apart for you guys. Microscope. This is not that worn. I maybe grabbed the wrong axis. This is not that worn out. Let's try the other one. I think this is the problem. Look at that. That's all broken. I didn't do that. I didn't subject these to anything. Oh, look at that. Yep, there's the problem. Look, it's missing all of its resistive material right there. got kind of pushed off. And I think it's because that the wiper thing was broken there. I just bent that up. That wasn't like that. But the clip, the wrong clip, this one, that clip is broken. Look at how worn out that copper piece is. It's supposed to have a little nub like that. This is all pushed down to nothing because it was riding in there sideways because it was broken. It was physically broken. And it wore away right there, and that's why, that's the center point. So it didn't know its center anymore because it wasn't getting power anymore. So that's what this mod fixes. You don't have these wipers and resistors anymore, so that's what this mod will stop from ever happening again. But like I said at the very beginning, is that the centering of the stick can go bad. The spring action that is centering this stick could wind up centering it a little bit offside. That's what happened to my old PlayStation 3 controller. I didn't have stick drift, but I had a problem where I would let go of the stick and it wouldn't be in the center anymore. I could center it and it would stop and it would stay, but if I just let it go, it could be a little bit off to the side, and then I'm just turning to the left all the time. Yeah, this is what is the problem, and this is the damage. Exactly how something all the way on the inside here got broken like that, I don't know. Slamming the stick from one side to the other, I don't know. I don't know what would cause that to break like that. Which way did this go? Can't tell. There's actually two ways to it. Looks like it goes that way. There you go. And yeah, this stick just doesn't feel right. It's getting caught here and stuff. It's not. That's why I don't believe in just changing out the resistors on the side either. Like, if you're going to take all this time to open the thing up and get in there and desolder something, it's a bit more work to desolder the entire thing than just one of these things. But the price difference, the time difference is not enough for me to justify only doing the one access. Because this thing's sticking. This thing's getting caught up and sticking and clicking and doing all kinds of stuff. Look, it even stuck completely in one direction. So it's more than just, it could be the heating of it that did this, but I've seen them do that. So it's more than just the resistor that goes bad. The gimbal of it all goes bad too, which this new Hall effects ones are actually susceptible to. So I don't know, is it worth the cost really? How long did your controller last with the original? And it'll last that same amount of time over again if you just replace it with the original. Is it worth that much more money for this kit and the installation of this kit than just putting in another original? I don't know. No, to each their own. I saw a cool question here. Judging by how big the stick drift issue is, I'm surprised third parties haven't brought out new controllers with Hall effect sticks yet. What's weird is that I haven't seen many of any third-party controllers at all, because the one that the couple that I've worked on, they're not really third-party. They look like they're an actual PlayStation controller that has been modified. I did a couple stick changes on the Scuff controllers, and I don't think that they're their own controllers. I think they're just basically putting a body kit on the original PlayStation controller. They're changing all the plastics, which adds new buttons, which then get grafted and soldered onto the board with these thin membrane wires running all over the place and everything. It's a really neat kit. I don't know how reliable it is. I guess it's got to be reliable because they're doing it. Can't speak too well on their soldering job that I saw from whoever's manufacturing them for them, whoever's putting them together. But it looks like they're just either buying actual PlayStation controllers, or maybe Sony is selling them some kind of short block controller where it's just the innards without the plastic that they're going to replace anyway. And then they just put new cover, new bottom with the new buttons and solder on a couple extra things, and that's the SCUF controller. Because the innards and everything, these things are exactly the same. So while they're at it, I guess they can put in Hall effects when they're doing all that. Now, there's not many, because Sony and Microsoft now require you to submit the design to them and for approval and pay for licensing, of course. Not worth the expense. So I guess there's not really just a universal, like you can't just plug in a USB controller to a PlayStation, can you? Because I have the infamous submarine controller. Oh, I get a sinking feeling every time I touch this. So this is the one that I use all the time. It's the famous submarine one, and I like this controller. I like the PlayStation style. I like the two sticks here, which a lot of people will argue on that they really like the Xbox, where there's one and one. I don't know. I grew up with this, so this is the one that I identify with. This is the one that fits my hand, and this fits my hand well. This thing has good weight to it and everything. I like this controller. I like this controller too. I don't have a PlayStation 5, so I never had a PlayStation 5 controller. But this feels good in my hand too. I have pretty big hands, so holding this in my hand actually fits on that leg. It feels good. This one's a little bit small for my hand. It does leave my pinky hanging out to dry, but not when I'm up on the triggers. Then my pinky is engaged. I like this controller. I like the way it feels. I tested this one. Since I started working on these, I tested this one for its circularity and all that stuff, and it's pretty good. It looks pretty good. This one right now, with its quick calibration I did, looks a little bit better than mine does too. But for what, $45 controller, I really like this one. I have a couple of them around, and they make a cool case for it. Just don't use it at the bottom of the ocean. That's all. You can get them at a deep discount. Yes. There's a big hubbub recently because Microsoft has in their recent software update blocked the use of generic USB controllers. So anything that has not had the blessing no longer works. That's fucking stupid. Oh, I hate that shit. See, this is one of the few reasons that I prefer PC for gaming than consoles. I like consoles because it's a very streamlined, smooth experience. That there's no drivers, there's no hardware to worry about, there's no installing this and that. You don't have to worry about it. You just put your CD in, you download your game, whatever you want to do, and it just plays. Maybe you have to do a software update now and then. That's normal. But stuff like that pisses me off. Like, I have a giant PC force feedback steering wheel and all that, and like, if all of a sudden I wasn't allowed to use my steering wheel, oh, you have to go buy a new one. Like, what's the point? It's USB, universal serial bus. That's supposed to be universal. It's supposed to work on everything. Like, if you're going to have something that's USB, then it's universal. It works everywhere. Then the port that's on the front of a PlayStation or the back of the PlayStation is not USB. It's Sony SB. It's not universal serial bus. It's Sony serial bus. It only works with Sony stuff or Xbox. You just said Microsoft, so it's MSB. Microsoft serial bus. It's not universal anymore. Got to pay for those antitrust cases somehow. I'm really hoping Microsoft gets a new one soon, because I'm sick and tired of Edge. The stupid Edge search bar that keeps trying to pop up in the middle of my screen. I haven't had it happen to me, but I heard somebody had, they went to open up Chrome, and their Windows computer closed Chrome and opened up Edge with all of their sites in Edge, and like, hey, try Edge. No. I just clicked on Chrome. If my computer does some shit where it automatically closes Chrome and opens Edge, you better sure as hell, I would be furious, and I would be all over the registry trying to disable everything I possibly can so that that never happens again. Because this is my computer, Microsoft, not your computer. That's my computer. You don't get to tell me what to do on my computer. You got that? We straight? We straight? Surprised they're focusing on social media companies so much. Yeah. I don't know, because social media. Yeah, the thing about the '90s. So they had this whole thing in front of Congress and everything. For any of my young bucks that might be watching this, I doubt it. My age group is about my viewership age group is about my age group anyway. But Microsoft was in hot water. They had to go in front of Congress, House of Representatives, the White House, everything, over Internet Explorer. That when you install Windows, Internet Explorer is already there. That was a huge no-no back in the 90s. Because now Mozilla was Firefox available? No. It was Mozilla, it was has 2 or 3 others back then. But well, Mozilla Netscape was the big one back then that was competing. And the other internet services too that were like AOL was the browser and everything. They want it to be installed as well. If Microsoft's own web browser is going to be installed, then our web browser should be installed. So there was a monopoly and all this antitrust stuff and everything, and Microsoft got in huge trouble. Yeah, but I think they squashed it by pulling some bullshit like, okay, fine, well, we'll just move one Microsoft way up into Canada and, screw the entire United States. I don't give a shit anymore. We'll just go operate from Canada. And that's when they calmed down and like, oh, okay, like, well, at least put shortcuts. And that's when when you install Windows 95, you get all the shortcuts for AOL, Prodigy, Netscape, all that stuff it'll open up in Internet Explorer for you to download right there. All the shortcuts were right there for you. Had a customer come in last week where Windows Update triggered BitLocker. Ah, great. He no longer has access to email address tied to the account. Unbelievable. Just an update, just that sounds like ransomware. So Microsoft is spreading its own ransomware. That's great. That's great. Novell CNA course. I wanted to do that. Back in high school, I very much wanted to be a CNE, the Certified Network Engineer. I really wanted to take that course. I was all set to go to DeVry University for the networking, and that was like my goal. Like Cisco wasn't even really that big back then, so like all of that stuff wasn't, all those certifications wasn't really big. The big one was Novell NetWare. And I had a Novell NetWare server at home and everything. I learned the Novell version 3.1.2, and I learned all of the ins and outs of that server. I played with everything on there. I learned how to do everything, all scripts all over the place. I loved that thing, and I really wanted to become an engineer for that. And then I went and joined the Marine Corps. You signed the motherfucking contract. I miss IPX, SPX. Microsoft is the best advertising for Linux. Updates. Oh, don't get me started on updates. Yet again, Microsoft updates ruined a data recovery on me. A data recovery going for like 4 days, and then my computer decided to restart. Oh, guess what? I just lost all the scan information. Even though I disabled that multiple times. Through group policy, through registry, all this other stuff that you can download and install, but you will not restart until I tell you to restart. They keep bypassing that. Every group policy thing that's supposed to work to not have your computer restart, it doesn't work anymore. They keep bypassing all of them. I don't know what people do with Windows machines that they're like recording security cameras on or something like that. That the things are just going to randomly reboot whenever the hell Windows wants to update. Like, you can't stop this anymore. I have mission critical things running. I have a data recovery running that took 4 days up until this point, and then you just restart overnight. I should have known it was Patch Tuesday and look for it. Now, thanks for joining me, guys. So yes, if any of you guys do this work and you want to show your customer, yes, this is why I'm charging you $125 per controller to install these things, because this is what it took. How long have I been on for so far? Like, yes, it takes me a little bit longer because I am explaining things. Where is my count? There it is. 2 hours and 4 minutes. So yeah, I'm a lot quicker without having to without streaming. I'm definitely quicker at doing this if I'm not streaming it, but not by that much. So we're at the 2 hour mark. I bullshit it for probably a little bit. So yeah, I'm probably about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 20 minutes into installing these things like this. And then calibration, it depends on how well it calibrates. The other one did not calibrate as quickly as this one. The other one, I had to fiddle with that for a while before I got it to look as good as this one does. Hey, Q's. Yes, about the updates. Yeah, there's plenty of groups out there, plenty of mission critical things that, yeah, you need a 9-month notice to be able to do an update. Production servers and stuff like that. Like, well, I guess production stuff isn't running on Windows 10 or something like that. Like, that's running on, Windows Server. But I would hope Windows Server has more controls than that. Like, people in larger organizations, they have to vet every update that comes through. They need to read the white sheets for every single update that Microsoft puts out. Like, that's one of the biggest things in IT. When you're working in something mission critical, something like financial agency or something like that, like, yeah, you need to have an IT person that's going to read the white sheets of every single update and fully understand what it's doing, what it's going to see, what it's going to change, what it's going to correct, and they have to vet it and say, yes, you can do this update. So, I don't know, I have the wrong group policy. I have Windows 10 Professional on everything. I had the group policies all set up so that you will install an update, but you will not restart, and still my computer restarted in the middle of the night. Like, this one too, the one that I'm streaming from, the Nook. I had the same thing happen years ago working at Rossmann, that I had a data recovery going on it and did the same thing, rebooted overnight and ruined 8 days of work or 10 days of work, something like that. It was crazy. So then that's when I set it all up, and I never had the problem again until recently. This thing I don't use for data recoveries anymore because I have a big one over there, but this one still will just automatically restart again. They canceled all of that. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere near Windows 11. I don't like Windows 11. I want somebody to really dive into that system and see what is it doing. First off, why are they wanting us to switch so much? Second, why does it need the trusted platform module? Like, that whole thing with the trusted platform module, it's irks me, because it seems like you want to be 110% certain at all times who is sitting at that keyboard in front of that computer. You want a forensic level of certainty that I was the one that typed in that password, I was the one that scanned my fingerprint, I was the one that read my iris and logged into that computer. So there is 100% certainty that anything that was done on that computer, I did. Because Windows is tracking so much shit these days. It's unbelievable how, like, you cannot turn off all of the tracking anymore. There's so many things that every file that you open is stored in so many different places. It's unbelievable trying to turn that shit off. If you don't want to see the files that you've opened in the past week in 50 different places, you got to go through group policy, registry. I had to go through INI files and all this other shit just to get it to stop tracking every fucking file that I open. And Windows 11, that was Windows 10. Windows 11, I think that's even more hidden. You cannot stop it from saving a register of every single task that you have done on your computer. I don't want forensic level data collection done on me in my daily life. There's no reason for that whatsoever. Install education version. I wouldn't be surprised if it's still tracking me. But I don't know, I've done a bunch of tests. I've like named a Word document some really unique name, and then opened it, closed it, and then searched the registry and searched the hard drive for instances of it. If it's in some database file, then maybe I might not find it. So I'd have to look. Actually, one time, it was a while ago though, I haven't done this in a very long time, is that I did that. I made sure that it wasn't saving anymore. And then right after I, opened it, closed it, searched for it to see if it was anywhere else, then that file name was anywhere else, I also did a *** search of the C drive, and then recently modified, and looked at all the files that were recently modified in the last 10 minutes. And are any of them database files? Is anything being stored anywhere on there? And yeah, that's when I was really into this and trying to get this to stop tracking everything that I do. See, that's what I would like, a Wireshark. I'd like to set up a Wireshark and see what is being sent to Microsoft at all times. Why is Microsoft getting any of that stuff? Why is it Microsoft's concern what Word documents, what PDFs I'm opening? Like that should freak anybody out. That Microsoft needs to know every single Word document, every single PDF, every single JPG, every single BMP that you open. They need to know when you opened it, what opened, what resolution it was, all that shit. But yeah, now we might be getting into conspiracy theories or something like that. That's beyond the scope of this channel. Thanks for joining me, guys. It was fun. It was real. It was fun. It wasn't real fun. But yeah, PlayStation controllers. I do the sticks, just the regular sticks. The usual price is $50 for changing out one of the sticks. And doing this, yeah, I would usually give a discount, $50 for one stick, like $65 for both of the sticks. But no, for all of this work and the calibration and everything like that, if you want these done, You have to provide your kit that you want, and if it's something different than this, I need instructions, and this is going to be probably anywhere from 125 to 150. Sonny, what's up, Sonny? You enjoying your Vision Pro? I like your experiments with it. Yeah, Q's. That's what I've been getting a whole lot of. Is I'm ordering 50 packs of PlayStation 5 HDMI ports now. Because PlayStation 5s are coming in like crazy. I like it. I don't mind taking out all those screws. I don't mind doing that work. I find it refreshing from time to time to just being able to do a repair. Just you know, rip something apart, and I know this is what's going to happen, rather than, you know, the try and figure out what's wrong. Like, yeah, that's fun, that's challenging, that's rewarding to figure out something, but God, it can be tiring. I mean, just doing PlayStations all day long can be tiring too, but I'm good at it. The Vision Pro has motion blur, and it's unusable when you're just walking around. Nah, Joseph, not yet. Not yet. It's getting there. It's getting busy, but not yet. I could be making a lot more money, but I'm undercutting a lot of people in the area. Like, I'm trying to undercut U-Break iFix. I want to draw some of the U-Break iFix customers over to here, because they are not good. They are slow. They are very expensive. They're corporate, you know, and the only way to attract somebody to this dude that's got a shop in his basement is to be that much cheaper. Like, I guarantee you're getting twice the amount of quality than you would from U-Break iFixed by coming here. I'm going to be twice the amount of quality that they will give you, but I don't have all of that clout behind me of, you know, you go over to Verizon, they're going to tell you to go to U-Break iFix for something, you know, stuff like that. I need to talk to some of the GameStops around my way and see if they have anybody that they actually suggest, because GameStop doesn't do HDMI repairs, but I'm sure they get calls all the time, because I get calls all the time. So I need to talk to some of them. I have at least 3 GameStops that are in close proximity to me. 2 of them that are in standalone stores, strip malls, and then 1 in an actual mall. And yeah, I should go, you know, drop some flyers and drop some business cards and stuff. You have a 44-inch printer at 141 West 27th Street waiting for me to fix. What brand? Was that the Canon that you were looking at? I have a 44-inch Canon printer right here behind me that I need to fix. I need a new print head, but I don't have the extra cash for a print head for a image prograph. Oh, the Epson one. Everything works, just the black. Okay. This is the one that has the integrated print head? You can't change the print head? We'll have to check the ink tubes and stuff like that, make sure ink is getting there and all that. Make sure the supply station is actually pumping and stuff like that. Like, that's messy. I don't like working on printers. Working on printers is messy. But yeah, I have 2 over here. I don't know if you can you see them behind me? No, I don't have the camera over enough. That one that's visible, that's a HP 42-inch printer, and then behind that is a Canon Image Prograph 44-inch printer. The HP works. I like the HP. It's not, it doesn't have as good of resolution, but the supplies for that thing is really cheap. The print heads are cheap. The ink tanks are relatively cheap. I really like that one. But yeah, the other one, the image prograph, I know that one's going to have a lot better pictures out of it, but ever since I got it, it needs a new printhead. And the printhead's like $550 for a printhead. At least it's a changeable printhead. I don't have to rip it apart. You can actually service the printhead. Yeah, I'm surprised GameStop doesn't contract with somebody or something and do their own repairs. But yeah, GameStop does not have anything to do with repairs. I'd like to know what does GameStop do with the because they'll exchange. Like if you buy a PlayStation from them and it breaks or something, they'll exchange for you. What happens to the exchanged ones? Like broken HDMI port, where's that going? Are they keeping it there? Are they selling it for cheap? Is it going back to some? I keep wanting to say El Mako because that was what it was in the Marine Corps. When it had to go back to the big warehouse to get fixed, that was called El Mako. Epson continuous ink printer, the new little ones with the big echo tanks. They seem pretty good. I don't like them for business though. We got one for business at Lewis's, and I don't like them for business. I don't like inkjets for business really. I have a Brother color laser jet here. EB Games is owned by GameStop now. I didn't know that. Electronic Boutique. We used to have them here. In the one mall, we used to have one EB Games and two GameStops. Or it was reverse. I think we had two EB Games and one GameStop in the place. Yeah, I'm sure they have a repair hub somewhere. Yeah, I just don't like inkjets that much anymore. Ever since I got the color laser, I don't like inkjets. I got this thing. I actually got this thing on a deal. This Brother right here. I got that Brother on a deal. There's a rummage sale that happens over here. Visiting Nurses Association does this big rummage sale, so it's just like this giant garage sale. I don't know what to call it. It's a rummage sale. That's what it is, and I don't know what to. If you've never seen a rummage sale, they just take over this giant field and put up these big old tents and just fill it with junk, and everything's sectioned out all over the place. And they had this printer there, and it wouldn't print color anymore. It wouldn't print one of the colors anymore or something like that. It had like 300 pages on it. Somebody bought it. It stopped printing color. They changed the toners. It had all brand new toners in it. They didn't realize that these toners aren't tracked by the printer. They don't have chips in them. So when you change a toner, you have to go into the printer and tell it you changed the toner, and then it will start printing again. So they didn't know that, so they got rid of it. I brought it home thinking, I'll try and fix it. Maybe it just needs a new toner. Maybe it needs a drum. I'll figure it out. All I found out was it just needed some maintenance on it. They were just telling it that, yes, it is a brand new toner. There you go. Like I think it was like $50 for a color laserjet printer. Yeah, I just did a cool I just did a really cool arts and crafts project with them for a trip we got coming up. We're gonna go for the Jay and Silent Bob. If any of you guys know Kevin Smith and his movies, there's a Jay and Silent Bob thing coming up, and I made these. This is Chuli's gum from Clerks. I actually made a bunch of Chuli's gums. They're just filled with Orbit gum, but yeah, just all different types. I even made up some of my own for the different flavors. Then we give it out as trade for other swag. that was all with the color LaserJet, and a lot of free time and some really good Photoshop skills. The quality's good. It's 1200 DPI. Speed is everything that I was printing was in was on thick paper, like cardstock. It's all thick cardstock. So the thicker it is, it's got to go a little bit slower. But yeah, the printout quality is beautiful. Shorts. Sonny, you're good at shorts. You're really good at shorts. I don't I don't know if I've tried to make shorts. I can't make something short. I don't know. I guess I can come up with some punchlines or something. I have one short that I recorded that's just dumb. It's just one of those 5-minute craft things of just hanging a power strip on a wall. Just my way of doing it. It works out really well. But I can't do shorts. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I like about the LaserJets, is that you don't have to worry about exercising them or anything. I can come back to this thing, a year from now, and it's just going to fire right up and print. It's nothing's going to be clogged. There's no cleaning. There's no changing anything. It's just going to work. Sonny, we should collab on a short. Yes. MALS? 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 Is that do you want that said as an acronym or as a abbreviation or? Yes, I have worked on a Surface. I have a video of it. I've worked on two. I've only worked on two. I've only seen two of them. I have a video on the one because I was changing the battery, just like you had to do. Was that the one? I'm mixing up the two. So one of them I changed the battery in the keyboard, or he had the battery changed in the keyboard, and that wasn't the battery that was bad. It was actually the battery in the unit. But then all the mounting points that mount the logic board to the case, they were all unsoldered. Every single one of them was just powdered and cracked and falling off where the motherboard was just rattling in the case. So I go through all of that in that video. It was about a year ago. I don't like working on anything that I have to pull the screen out. Especially now, maybe you guys can help me out. My unlimited supply of screen cutters is going away. So that's what I use to cut screens out. Metro cards. New York City MTA Metro cards. They are the right toughness, thickness. This plastic is really thick, really hard, but still flexible. That you can get this with a little bit of heat, dot of alcohol, this goes right underneath the screen and just cuts the glue out like nothing. I want to find something like this. I tried something, I got something from Blick Art Supplies, but it's the same thickness, but it's not as strong. It's not as stiff. Where is it? Here it is. This almost worked. This is something called Durabright, and it's a plastic paper. It's like and it has like a slick feel to it and everything. It's a matte finish, slick feel, and it's a plastic paper, a heavyweight plastic paper. And this was promising. I thought it was going to be great, but it's actually more stretchy than it is hard, like a Metro card. So I'm looking for something that feels just like a Metro card that I can just buy in bulk. I'm going nuts trying to find it. I don't want to keep spending money on things. Like Hi suggested that I try stencil material, because I was just looking for anything that, I think it's 5 mil is the thickness of a Metro card, so I was just looking for anything that was 5 mil and just buy some different plastics that are 5 mil. And this one was promising. It's the right thing, but it's stretchier. It's not as tough. It's not as resilient and stiff as a Metro card. iPlastic? What's iPlastic? Is that something from like Mobile Centrics or something like that they actually sell for this? So I was thinking about getting air slices, but I haven't seen them in a while. I don't know who still sells the air slice. It was a really thin stainless steel or something like that. Yeah, I found a couple industrial plastic shops on Amazon and stuff like that, and I never found anything that looks just right. I guess I got to call around or something. I don't know, but I don't know. People usually like, you want what? Like, I need something for a very specific use case. I need to find a real salesman that knows this stuff. But then they're only going to sell, like, I only need like one box of 100 of business card sizes, and that's going to last me for the next like 5 years probably. I don't know, unless I market them and sell them, or I don't know. No. Jesus Christ, it's 11:20. I didn't realize it was that late. How long am I on now? 2.5 hours. Thanks for joining me, guys. Happy Monday. Happy week. Have a good week. I will talk to you guys later.